It wasn't just about communism. It wasn't just about helping South Vietnam. Behind one of the bloodiest wars in modern history lay secrets, greed, fear, and deception. This is the real story of why the United States went to war in Vietnam. After World War II, the French still ruled Vietnam, a country rich in resources and pride. But one man, Ho Chi Minh, a revolutionary inspired by nationalism and communism, wanted independence for his people. He fought the French with fierce determination, and in 1954, at the famous Battle of Dien Bien Phu, the French were crushed. They surrendered, and Vietnam was split into two parts: North Vietnam, led by Ho Chi Minh, the communist side, and South Vietnam, backed by America and its allies. But the world was in the Cold War. The U.S. government feared that if one Asian country turned communist, others would follow, a fear they called the domino theory. If Vietnam fell, they believed then Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, maybe even India could fall next. At least that's what the public was told. But behind closed doors, there were darker motives. Historians now reveal the hidden truth. America's leaders weren't just fighting communism. They were fighting to protect economic power and corporate profit. Southeast Asia had something the U.S. wanted: vast reserves of tin, rubber, and oil. Big defense companies, Lockheed, Bell, Dow Chemical, saw Vietnam as a golden opportunity. Every bullet, every bomb, every helicopter meant billions of dollars in military contracts. And politically, after losing China to communism in 1949, Washington could not afford to look weak, but they still needed a reason to invade. And soon, they found one. In August 1964 it happened, the famous Gulf of Tonkin incident. The U.S. claimed that North Vietnamese boats had attacked two American destroyers in the dark waters of the Gulf. The event shocked the nation. President Lyndon B. Johnson went on television saying, "We seek no wider war." But secretly, that was exactly what he wanted. Years later, declassified documents exposed the truth. The second attack never actually happened. It was radar confusion, false alarms, and exaggerated reports. But it was enough for Johnson to push through the Gulf of Tonkin resolution, a law giving him total power to wage war in Vietnam. And just like that, the U.S. was all in. By 1965, tens of thousands of American soldiers landed on Vietnamese soil. But this was not a war America understood. The enemy wasn't a traditional army. They were guerrilla fighters, blending with civilians, vanishing into jungles, and striking from the shadows. The landscape was a nightmare: dense forests, swamps, and endless heat. Helicopters filled the skies, bombs tore through villages, and napalm turned green jungles into fire. The U.S. dropped over 7.5 million tons of bombs, more than in all of World War II combined. But for every hill they captured, the Viet Cong returned again. For every village destroyed, a dozen more rose in rebellion. And back home in America, people began to ask, why are we fighting a war 8,000 miles away? Why are our sons dying in a country most of us can't even find on a map? By the late 1960s, the truth began to leak out. Soldiers wrote letters describing chaos and confusion. Journalists filmed burning villages and crying civilians. And then, in 1971, came the explosion that changed everything. The Pentagon Papers. These were secret government files leaked to the press, and they revealed a chilling truth. For years, U.S. leaders had lied to the American people. They knew the war could not be won, but they continued sending soldiers just to avoid the embarrassment of losing. It wasn't about saving South Vietnam anymore. It was about saving America's image. The Vietnam War had become a machine, driven by politics, pride, and profit. Young men were drafted and sent to die for reasons they couldn't understand. At home, protests filled the streets, college students, veterans, even mothers chanting, "Bring them home." The country was tearing apart. By 1973, after nearly 2 decades of fighting, America finally withdrew. The peace deal was signed, but peace never came. 2 years later, in 1975, Saigon fell. North Vietnamese tanks rolled through the capital, and the war that had consumed millions of lives finally ended. But the cost? Over 58,000 American soldiers dead. More than 3 million Vietnamese killed. Entire forests destroyed by chemical agents like Agent Orange. Billions of dollars wasted. And a generation of Americans who no longer trusted their own government. So why did the Vietnam War really happen? It wasn't just to stop communism. It was fear of losing influence, fear of appearing weak, and the hunger for resources and control. A war built on lies and fought for pride. In the end, Vietnam didn't just change Asia, it changed America. It shattered illusions, exposed corruption, and reminded the world that even great powers can lose when truth is the first casualty. Because history isn't just about what happened, it's about what they didn't want you to know.